So let's do Ghost in the Shell, which you'll know that there's been an awful lot of news stories about this, accusations of whitewashing, thanks to the casting of Scarlett Johansson in the lead role in the movie of Major, who is a sort of cyborg with a human brain. And this whole debate has become quite complicated. The director of the 1995 anime, which is the kind of the classic Ghost in the Shell, has come out and said, well, actually, this is there is. I think the quote is, "There's no basis for saying that an Asian actor must portray that central character that Johansson plays," because he's saying that actually that's not written into the DNA of the story. However, a lot of people have found it problematic, and it has sort of divided people in advance of the movie. So putting all that aside and attempting to look at the movie itself, essentially the story is that it's a future in which cyborg technology augments humanity. There is a creature that we see at the beginning, a central character created, a creation sequence, which is very much, incidentally, kind of looks back towards Under the Skin. In which we have a synthetic body, human mind consciousness ghost. Hanker is under attack, which is the organisation, from a cyber hacker who is hacking cyber-enhanced bodies. And in the clip we're about to hear, there is a rogue geisha who they've got into one of the units, and Major, played by Scarlett Johansson, decides that the only way that she can get to the hacker is to go deep down into the pool, into the consciousness, into the other identity, which is a dangerous thing to do. Here's a clip.
I have to do a deep dive. I have to get inside her memory.
Consent required for data download.
I give my consent.
What the hell's happening? Disconnect. Get her out!
I'm trying!
Get her out now!
There's been a lot of talk about the fact that one of the things that the story is about taking a consciousness, taking an idea, and putting it into an artificial sort of super hyped up body, and that actually that's what, to some extent, this version is doing with the original. And I think it is certainly true that people who are old enough to have been, around when the first Ghost in the Shell came out. I mean, I was at Cannes when Ghost in the Shell 2 opened, I think. But we all remember it as being one of those things, like Akira, that were just, very, very important. And I do understand why some people say, okay, in that case, I don't want this live action remake, particularly in this form. However, I have to say, I think the film is a lot better than it could have been. Firstly, as I said at the beginning, that kind of creation scene is very arrestingly done. And it's interesting, if you think about Scarlett Johansson and you think about her in Luc Besson's Lucy, she has, got a very good track record on doing this, more human than human or not quite human science fiction role stuff, which she does take very seriously. Interestingly enough, a lot of people have drawn the comparison between the way this looks and Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, although actually it's a closer comparison to The Fifth Element in terms of the way in which the screen is utterly cluttered with the futurescape that it's depicting. And there are images in it that are really quite breathtakingly done. It does evoke. I mean, I was wondering what it would be like if you were Ridley Scott making Blade Runner in the 80s and then looking forward to somebody making this now and thinking, wow, it's going to be possible to do all that. But actually, Fifth Element is a closer touchstone. I think some of the action sequences are very impressively done. The sort of tank-like spiders work well, and the thing, it moves along apace. What we have lost, I think, is the melancholia, a certain sense of mystery that was in the original. A sense that there was the original anime, as opposed to manga, it appeared to me to have sort of greater depths to it. But that may well also be part and parcel of, who I was when I first saw it, because it's a long time ago and I haven't gone back and revisited it for a while. There's also an interesting thing about the way in which you have the key casting. For example, Juliette Binoche, who plays the person who brings the character into being, is French. Peter Asbach, who is Batu, who is I think he's Danish, isn't he? And of course we get beat to Takeshi Kitano, who's got a very, very significant role and dominates the screen every minute that he's on. I went to see it in a multiplex because I couldn't see it at the National Press Show because I was having my eye operation done. So I went to see it in a multiplex yesterday, and it was sort of half full audience, and they did seem to be pretty evenly divided between people who were just going along because it was a new science fiction action movie, and people who were going along because they were they were devoted to the idea of Ghost in the Shell. And I have to say, it seemed to play pretty well. Some people have texted me and said, I really hope that you give this film the kicking it deserves. And I'm not sure whether they're saying that on the basis of having seen it or whether they're saying that on the basis of, as I said, I do understand that there are some people who just resent its existence, and that's fair enough. You can have that argument, but my own feeling was it was better than it could have been. It's not brilliant, but when you consider how badly it could have gone wrong, there is enough in there, enough that's arresting, enough that's ambitious, enough that's inventive and reverential to the source whilst also wanting to move on to justify and validate its existence. And believe me, I didn't go in with very high hopes. And I came out thinking, well, actually, that's okay. And certainly there are vistas and set pieces in it that you think, that's actually pretty. That has been made by people who really do care about the way the movie looks, the way the movie has.
So this isn't a meh review, is it?
No, it's not a meh review at all. It's
pretty good.
It's actually better than I expected. I mean, it has flaws and it has longueurs, and the narrative kind of ties itself up in knots to some extent as it's trying to sort of do backstory and establish. But I thought, generally, having gone in with rather low expectations, I was pleasantly surprised. I don't think it's brilliant, but I think it's so much better than it could have been.